Hi everyone, welcome to today's episode of Show Me How It's Done. I'm your host, Lauren Urbonis with Lauren's Scraplot, and I am here in Canada. If any of you are looking for a demonstrator or need a catalog or have a question, feel free to reach out. My website's also listed at the bottom of the page, laurenurbonis.stampinup.net, and you can shop for any of the products that I'm showing you today on my website. Or if you're here in Edmonton, I'm happy to combine shipping with you, and you can pick your order up from me. So I'm sure many of you in Canada have had a taste of winter already, but today and this morning was kind of the first time we had a full-blown winter wonderland outside. So the snow started rolling in yesterday afternoon and my kids were so excited. And by the time they woke up this morning, the ground was covered and there was snowdrifts galore. So today I thought was the perfect time to show you this adorable Winter Wonderland scene using the Peaceful Cabin stamp set and coordinating dies. Now these are in the holiday catalog, so they are still available and they will be until January 3rd, so you can still get your hands on them and they are just so stunning. I did receive some inspiration from various demonstrators out there who have made photo frames with this set as well. So there's so many of you who have done it and I've kind of, taken bits and pieces here and there. So thank you just for those of you who have made a photo frame and shared that online. And then I've created one kind of that I really enjoyed and I'd like to show you guys how to put it together today. So there is a little bit more stamping and die cutting on this project than some of my usual Tuesday videos. But I find as we near Christmas, people are really looking for something that they can dig into and make, using some of that spare time that they may have, or that will mean something to the recipient you're giving it to. So I hope you guys enjoy today's project. I have all the measurements that I'll give throughout the video, but I will also make sure to post them in the comments or the description on the video link. So you can always go back. If you're watching the replay, make sure to just stop and pause so you can catch up, because there's a few points where I've done a little bit of prep work ahead of time, so you don't have to watch me do all the boring stuff, but you will need the time to actually make those die cut pieces yourself. So it's a nice video for you to just watch straight through and then to go back and add the details that you may have missed in between there. So I'm going to zoom you guys in so you can see a bit of the finer detail here. And hopefully that helps a little bit. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you from start to finish all the layers that you need for this project. If you're going to do it, you'll need the Peaceful Cabin stamp set, as well as the coordinating dies that are sold with it. So if you do buy them as a set, you get 10% off, but you can also buy them separately. For this project, you'll need both, and hopefully for, many other projects that you want to make too. So I have already taken out a few of the stamps because we're going to use them today, but you can see most of the other pieces hiding in the set here. So let's get going. Okay, I'm gonna just kind of, maybe I will just put this up to the side here. There we go. Still in your line of sight, but I have some desk space. Okay, so the first thing I did was I went to the dollar store and I grabbed myself a photo frame. This is a 5x7 frame. So all the measurements that I'm giving you, you'll need to make sure that whatever frame you pick, it's compatible with a 5x7 photograph. You can go to Michael's, you can go to Walmart, you will end up spending a few extra dollars. And really the focal point of this project is what's inside the frame. And so I just wanted a plain matte frame from the dollar store, and that's what I grabbed. Okay, so I have that. I also am going to need some pieces cut. So I'm going to give you all those measurements now so you can have them ready to go. And then as we need them throughout the project, you'll have them on hand. So you'll need one piece of basic black cardstock. This is 6.5 by 8.5. And that is the piece that you see just hiding in the back here. It's what we're building most of our frame on top of. Okay, so one piece of basic black. You will also need a piece of basic gray. This is 5 by 7, and this is going to be that gray shadow that you see around the edge of this frame here. Okay, so one piece of basic gray. Some designer paper to give us a gorgeous snowy night. You could cut it the exact same as this piece here, but you'll end up being quite sad and wasting lots of it. So in order to just, you know, get the most out of what we're doing, let's cut it at 3 inches by 6 3/4. And the nice piece about this is your page is 12 inches wide, so you can get 4 across and then a 5th one on the side of it as well. Or maybe 2 of them, I think. So this is a great snowy piece. There's also a few other pieces in the set that you'd be able to substitute in as well. The basic white is going to, you can't actually see it right now, it's what we're going to build a lot of our project on, and it just gives you a nice sturdy foundation. So this piece of basic white is 4 inches and 3/4 by 6 3/4. That's our background piece. And then keep that white handy because we're going to need a few more. You're going to, for this fox layer, need a piece of basic white, and that will be 1 3/4 by 8 1/2. And I'll show you how to stamp your little fox on there. And then the next 3 are for layers of cabins and trees. So they're going to be the same. And you'll notice that there's a lot of excess, but that's so that you have the flexibility to move your pieces around. So you need 3 of these pieces of white. They are the exact same measurements at 4 inches by 8 1/2. Okay, so 3 of those pieces, we're going to stamp 2 with trees and 1 with a cabin, and I'll show you where to position those. And then your last thing that you need is a piece of scrap white, because we do need some scraps to cut an extra set of trees as well as some little fences. Okay, so just some sort of scrap. I took what was left over from cutting one of these pieces, so it ends up, I think, about 3 inches by 8 1/2, but you can use anything and you can use multiple pieces of scrap. You just will need some sort of scraps. And while you're gathering, let's get some inks. So gray granite is what I've chosen to use for my cabin. However, if you have crumb cake or even Sahara sand or even smoky slate, all of those would give you a nice subtle cabin look. So any of those are great. Cajun Craze was my little fox. So once again, if you want to use something different, go ahead. You could use basic gray if you wanted to make it a little bit more like a small wolf pup or something. But I like the Cajun Craze because I thought it was a great fox color. Cinnamon cider would also be a great alternative for that. And then shaded spruce was what I chose for my trees. If you had garden green or even evening evergreen, any soft green will be perfect. Okay, so lots to do here. Let's get started. We're going to start with the frame and just get that out of our way. Okay, so we're gonna need our frame and our piece of basic black. So I'm gonna just take my sticky off and put that over there. Okay, so I'm gonna open up my frame. And take this piece out. I'm going to take everything out that's inside this frame. Depending on where you buy it from, there'll be different things. Now, this glass plate, when I led a class, some ladies said they preferred to leave this in and do everything on top of it. I kind of just wanted my stuff to pop out a little bit more for me, so I'm going to take the glass plate out, and I now have this nice open black frame. Okay, so here is where I'm going to take my piece of basic black, and my frame just has these weird little edge triangle things, so all I need to do is just snip, snip, snip on my corners. You may or may not have to do that, okay? So just keep that in mind. If your paper doesn't want to go in, just look at how the pages before it were cut. Okay, so I've got my black in. Now I'm going to put back everything that I've taken out because that gives me the nice sturdy base. So I'm going to start with my glass. Stick that in the back. I've got this white frame that they offered, so those are nice if you ever want to use them later. You can just throw them in. The only thing I'm going to kind of get rid of is this random piece that they use just to tell you what you're buying, because I don't need that. And then I also have that plastic piece. Again, yours will be different depending on where you get it. Mine was from Dollarama if you're here in Canada. And I think the States should have Dollarama or something similar. There's dollar stores everywhere. Okay, then pop this in. There we go. Make sure she's all closed up tight. Here. Okay, now I can actually start adding just one piece on the inside to get it out of my way, and that's going to be the basic gray. I don't need that one on hand, so I'm going to take my basic gray and I'm going to put dimensionals all along the back of this thing. So usually I'm a little bit more conservative with my dimensionals, not on this, because I am putting so much weight on the back of it that I just want to make sure that this is fully taken care of. So I'm going to put dimensionals galore all over the place. You can use large dimensionals maybe to save yourself a little bit of time, but mine are handy with the small ones here. Okay, so lots and lots of them on the back here. You can go ahead and take off all of this backing. And you can go ahead now and, oh, sorry, I'm just going to move one thing back a little bit for me. Here, maybe I have a little bit more workspace. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to put this in the center of my black space. Beautiful. Okay, I don't need this anymore at the moment. I'm going to focus on doing some of my piecework and try and get that built. Okay, so I'm going to take my frame and put it to the side. We will add everything to it at the very end. Okay, so the next thing that I would like to do is take that piece of basic white that I told you was for the background that we wouldn't ever really see. This is that 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. And we're going to put our designer series paper onto it right along the top. Okay, so you won't leave any white space. You don't want to see anything. Let's attach this so that we can also move these pieces out of our way. I like to get everything out of my way that I can so that my inky fingers have less to touch after I've been stamping, or I should probably just wash my hands in between doing a bunch of stamp work and assembling. Okay, so this is resting right along the top here. Oop, you can see a little bit of white. Oh well, I will just have to trim that then. Okay, so this should be perfect. If you cut it a little different, make sure you look on the back, check your perimeter, no designer series paper is showing. That's great. Okay, so this piece we're going to set aside for the moment. You don't have to put it away as far from you as the frame, but let's do a bit of stamping here, okay? So multiple layers here and multiple things that we have to stamp. So let's start with those 3 pieces of basic white, because those are going to be the foundation of our project. We're going to need 2 for trees and 1 for a cabin, okay? I'm going to move that to the side, and I'm going to take one of my pieces here, and I'm going to start with my trees. So this set of trees, you do want to make sure you're just laying it down, inking it up really, really well. this set of trees, I am going to stamp as far to the right, or sorry, to the left of my page as I can, and go close to the top, okay? Don't have to be right at the top, but this will give you more room to work with down below. Okay, so I've stamped this one to the left of my page. Now I'm going to grab my green once more. Stamp, stamp, stamp. And this one I'm going to stamp. You can see this one's to the left. This one's going to be to the right. So you'll need one of each. Okay. One to the left, one to the right. And then while you've got your green, grab your scrap paper, this lovely scrap, and stamp yourself one set of trees as well. Okay. And that can be anywhere on the page because we are going to be cutting those ones out. Okay. Put this away. And then we're going to grab our gray granite and do our cabin. Okay, so scrap, left, right, put those to the side. Grab my last piece of that 4" by 8.5. Now my cabin it's not all the way to the left, it's not all the way to the right, it's not even in the center. It's kind of like 1/3 of the way in. So if you prefer, you can always do your trees first, do those layers, and then come back and see where your cabin might be sitting. But I'm hoping this works. I'm not going to put it in the center of my page. I'm going to move over just a tiny bit towards the left because I want it nestled in the trees there. Once again, putting it a little higher up on my paper. Okay, so there's my cabin. Now I need to, while your gray granite is out, also you will, on that scrap, do your 2 fences. I've already done those and use the dies to cut them out. So do that on your scrap while you have this ink going. And I'm actually going to suggest that you wait to do the fox layer until these 3 layers are put on, because that will give you a good indication of where you need to put your fox. So now here's what we need to do. We need to cut all of these out using the dies from the set. One of the trickiest things to do is to make sure that your die does not move, especially on something so specific as this. And you'll notice that my die does not cover the whole expanse of my paper. My paper is also far longer than it needs to be, and that's so that I do have a little bit of room to move it all around. But here's a little trick. So I've got my die all lined up on my paper. I'm guessing you're like me. You have a stash of retired washi tape that you're so hesitant to use. We're going to put a couple pieces of washi tape on either side of our die here, so that now when I roll this through the big cut and emboss machine, it won't move. I'm not going to do that because it kind of takes up my whole desk. But when I cut it out, this is what it will look like. The die will have cut out this small little portion. And then what I need to do with some scissors is I just need to carry on the snow bank. Okay, it's got a natural curve. You can see it starting to go up here. So I'm just going to grab my scissors and I'm going to do a tiny bit more to finish this side off, and then a tiny bit more to finish that side off. Okay, so that's giving me this layer with my cabin. Now, just as I lined up my cabin dies on the paper, I will also do the same thing with both of my trees. So the one tree ends up cutting right to the edge here. So then all I need to do is take my scissors and there we go, and cut whatever kind of snowbank I feel like right off the edge, like so. And then my trees that were hitting on the right hand side, you can see also they got cut off. So we're just going to finish this off. If you want collar heel on this one, I don't know. It can be anything you want. It's yours. And just keep in mind you've got lots of scraps from these negatives, so you can always use those for future projects, maybe for sentiments or whatnot. Okay, so here I go. I've got one tree that's going to the right, one tree that's going to the left, one little cabin, and that means I need a fox layer. Okay, so once I've kind of decided where I want him, all I did was I stamped my little fox kind of towards the left-hand side of my page, and I'm going to cut the rest of his piece as well. So please message me if what I've described with just taping your die down and rolling it through doesn't make sense, but it saves you from getting really dizzy just watching my table shake doing all this die cutting. Okay, so here we go. Got all of my pieces. I'm ready to build. Okay, here's where my previously put together base is going to come in handy. The one that you're going to start with is the trees that are on the left hand side. Okay, and this layer is going to get popped up on dimensionals, but you'll notice that not all of it is going to stay on. Okay, so just keep that in mind when you're putting dimensionals on the back of this. Not all of the white is going to stay, so don't bother putting any over there. Okay, so turn it over. Make sure you get dimensionals on the tops of your trees because you want them nice and sturdy. This is a project that's probably going to use like a whole sheet of dimensionals on you, so I apologize, but at the same time I don't, because it's an absolutely stunning project that somebody is going to feel so cherished when you give it to them, or when you make two of them, because I know you're going to want to keep one. Okay, so take all of your backings off. This is the fun part. Just wanted to make sure they had lots of stability. All right, here we go. So this layer is going to be your kind of defining height layer. So you don't want it like over your sky, but you do want it almost just below the sky. So I'm happy with this edge. I'm going to line that up. I've given myself a teeny tiny bit of sky to work with here. If you wanted, you could probably move it down a tiny bit as well. So we'll do that. Give yourself just a little bit of space and put this down. Now I am going to go ahead, oops, I did do dimensionals off. Well, those are useless. I am going to go ahead and trim this piece right now. So I just use the edge of this white here to cut a straight line, or if you'd really like to, you can grab your trimmer and cut as well. So here is layer one. Now for layer two, if you haven't guessed, we're going to use the trees that are on the right hand side. So these ones though, I'm actually not going to pop up on dimensionals because the tree layer under it already has dimension. Okay, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive in this white space, and then I can rest these trees right over top, and these ones still will have the illusion of floating. You can put dimensional under them if you want, but they'll end up kind of bending backwards, and I didn't really love that feature. Okay, so this is where you get to play. You get to move your trees over and back and see where you actually kind of like where they're sitting. Okay, so once you've figured that out, and don't worry about like little white spaces because we're going to put a tree in here, but I probably kind of want to keep that tree. So maybe I'll move it to here. So totally up to you. When you're ready, put some adhesive in here. Doesn't have to look pretty, so the nice thing is I can just put a couple strips of tape and no one will be the wiser that it's back there. And then make sure your tree is back where you want it. Like so. Go ahead and trim this off again. This time I had to trim a little bit of a tree, and that's okay. Oops. May want to go back with my trimmer at the very end of this. Make sure all those edges are uniform. I can do that at the end. Okay, other side. There we go. So there's my adorable tree line. We are going to fill in a couple trees like I mentioned, and you can always cut more trees if you want a fuller background than what I've done. But next layer is our cabin because it's so pretty. And we do want the cabin kind of looking like it's nestled in the woods. So this is where you're going to have to sit here and kind of play for a couple minutes. Just make sure that you've got it in a good position where it's not too high that it's covering all of the trees behind it or leaving too much space in the bottom. But you also don't want it too low where you're not going to have any room to put a fence or a little fox layer. Okay, so once you've kind of figured out where you'd like it, we're popping this layer up on dimensionals. So turn this over and go crazy. With those dimensionals, just be mindful that this little gap here with your cabin, you actually don't want any dimensionals in that space because it'll force your cabin to get pushed back. So maybe just to do your dimensionals in the white space, it might save you a little sanity. You could like put one on your cabin or something, but you really don't need it. If the white is elevated, the cabin doesn't need any. And then you're not having to figure it out. Okay. Here. Okay. Got my little cabin. I'll just press that down right there. Okay, so I do think I might go grab my trimmer now because it's getting really thick and I would just like to make sure I'm doing all the layers properly. I'm gonna grab my mini guillotine cutter so you can actually see it on the screen. We unfortunately don't have these for sale anymore, but they're fun, and then you can actually see what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm just going to trim very thick because I've got a dimensional in there. Maybe you will not be trimming there. Come here. Doesn't want to cut through my dimensional. There you go. Okay. Try that once more. Oh, I'm gonna need the more powerful one. Oh well, that's fine. I will just move that and do scissors for the moment. Get my strong one later. Okay. Bottom. You want to cut all the way across here. There you go. And on the side. There, and I'm just going to fix that little mistake that I made here. There. That looks much better. Okay, so this is looking great. Now we're going to add our little fox layer, and you can kind of determine before you put him on, make sure that you have room for your little fences. There we go. Okay, so if I was to put it up here, then I don't actually have room for the fences. I want to make sure that I'm maybe putting them on in place where I want them, like that. And then I will go ahead and put my fox layer on. He is also going to get some dimensionals. And the nice thing is, honestly, you could just do it on the very bottom of your card, because then you're not trying to figure out which ones are going to fall off. Okay? Dimensionals all over. Wasn't kidding when I said you'll use a sheet almost. Okay? Put your little fox on here. He looks great. Sure you're not showing any. There you go. And your little fences can get popped up with dimensionals. Might as well put them on. The mini dimensionals will work really well for those. 1, 2, 3. And then what I did with my one fence is I kind of made it come off the page a little bit because I wanted to look like I had a continuous fence line going. So I'm actually going to just put him off a little bit. And then that one can go right next to it, a nice full fence line. And that just gives you a little bit of perspective for your piece. This should be the last time you have to trim. Unless you want to go back and fix anything. And make sure to trim that little tiny fence post off. Okay, so here are all our layers, but it did look a little blank in this area to me. So that's why I told you to stamp that one extra set of trees. You're going to cut them out exactly the same, which will cut out just the top line here. And then with your scissors, you just have to cut the bottom 1/3 of your tree. So you should end up with 2 trees joined together and then 1 tree on its own. And it's completely up to you where you want to put these, but I thought this set looked really nice if I kind of tucked it right here. And then this single tree actually looked really nice if I filled in this one little blank in my tree line in the back there, okay? So these guys, I'm just going to put a strip of adhesive on the bottom. You don't need anything on the tops of the trees, just something on the bottom here. And this will get tucked right down here. If you want, you can also lift this snowbank up. So I'll just show you. Let's say you need to get this off. All I can do is I could just cut the dimensionals and then just rub them out of the way. So that's just an option for you. If you wanted to kind of tuck a little bit lower, put that in there, replace your dimensional. Okay, and then this little one, again, just putting some adhesive on the bottom of it. You don't need anything on the top of the tree because that's going to be in this empty space here. And that just floats in here like so. And then if you really wanted any more trees, you could cut yourself out another set and tuck some more behind the cabin. But I did kind of want to see some of the sky shining through a bit. So here is my gorgeous scene that I now need to add onto my frame. So surprise, we're not using dimensionals to put this on. We're going to put tape or seal, any adhesive you want, and we'll put this onto our frame. I think we've done a lot of different layers, so we'll avoid one. Okay, I'm going to move that one. Here is where you need to make sure that your frame is facing the right way. Okay, if I had this facing upside down and I put my picture on, I wouldn't be able to stand it up because it's upside down. So make sure right now that whatever way you're facing it, your little frame can stand up properly. You can see it. Otherwise you have to take everything apart and flip it. So mine is now facing the right way. I can put this into the middle here. And just press gently. Make sure it's all put down. And voila! This is gorgeous. If you want to elevate your project even more, you could use some of the sequins that we have and add them to the sky, and that would give you even more glitter in the sky. Or I'm going to show you how to make some sparkly snow on your rooftop. So many of you have fallen in love with this Wink of Stella pen, and so have I. A couple little tricks for you if you ever run out, like if it empties. You can go to Costco and there's 99 proof rubbing alcohol. If you refill the base here, you can get at least one more use, like one more full pen use out of it, because there's going to be so much glitter still hiding in the bottom. And if you ever want to buy multiples of these, you can also dye the colors in here. So with your ink refills, for instance, you could drop a couple drops of blue in there and you'd have a blue Wink of Stella that you can now use in a background for some water or some sky. But it is a permanent choice. So you'd have to buy multiple Winks of Stella. So you'd still have one clear, one blue, one pink, whatever you want. But it's a great idea if I did dye one blue. I just don't know where it is, and it's just a really nice subtle background for me to use. So Wink of Stella can be used on your rooftop here to make your snow shimmer and shine. Here we go. Hopefully you can see the difference between the sections that I haven't done and the ones that I have. Just makes that rooftop stand out. And the snow is kind of glistening off a bit then. Make sure to get the chimney because there's some snow up there. And the side of the rooftop. There we go. But then when you move it, hopefully you can see that little shimmer. And if you want, you can scribble around your cabin. That's totally up to you too. But I kind of wanted my roof to be a nice focal point with my Wink of Stella here. So there you have it. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I hope that you're able to come back and rewatch it and cut pieces and create this project for yourself. It is just a stunning gift for you to be able to give away. And on a smaller scale, if you can just imagine maybe making this a little tinier, you could make a matching card for somebody as well using almost the same layout. You just may have to sacrifice the layer with the fox or something in order to kind of fit this onto a card front. Like that would all fit on a card front. You just wouldn't be able to do the fox, or you can make a little fox and have him kind of hiding in the trees or something. So lots of ideas for you. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. One more note for you. Today, tomorrow, and Friday, Stampin' Up! Is doing a seasonal sale. So all of their cardstock is 10% off. All of their inks are 15% off. And all of the dies from the annual catalog. So unfortunately not these ones, but the annual catalog are all 20% off. So if you need anything, let me know, or go online to learnerbonus.stampinup.net, and you'll still be entered into my November customer thank you draws and receive a little happy mail from me. I will talk to you guys next week, where I will have another exciting project for you. So thank you so much for joining. Make sure to like and subscribe the video so that I can bring you more. Talk to you guys later. Bye.